Voila. Okay, well, welcome everyone to this special session focusing on herbal and drainage remedies in the Radar Opus software. I'm Marci Mearns, and I'd say we're going to spend about an hour today. Okay. Uh, for those who are on the call and you've been given permission to speak, please feel free if you have a question or a comment, and mostly a question. I would invite you to just go ahead, unmute yourself, interrupt me if you'd like, and I will check from time to time to make sure that we're tracking, okay, and that I've got everybody's questions answered today. You can also try the chat. However, I sometimes will miss those chats unless we're in a pause moment. Okay. So again, welcome, and we're going to have a very simple, I expect to be no more than an hour here today. So let's see how it goes. I've got an introduction to our topic today, some definitions for you, and then we're going to look at three resources in your Radio Opus software, and a couple bonuses that I came onto as I was researching the topic. So I certainly learned a lot. I hope that you all do as well, and can make some use of the new information. So I just want to start out by sort of defining our topic a bit here. We are talking about detoxification primarily, and this is, this is a big topic now. Everybody wants to do detoxing. Um, you may or may not be familiar with. Here are a couple of books that I actually have both of these in my book collection in my office here. And if you'll notice, this one on homeopathic drainage and detoxification was done all the way back in 2010. So that's that book's been around a while. And then we've got, of course, Ton Jansen's very popular book, which is no longer available, I might add, because he's moved on to another iteration of that same therapeutic practice, or an evolution, we might say. So, the point is, this is quite a hot topic right now. Okay, now we're not covering either one of these books, but I just put them in there to sort of set the stage, because everywhere we have got this issue of toxicity. And I have a quotation here from Michael Bucco-Levy, who's actually a contemporary medical doctor, and he describes the situation this way. In the past 100 years, environmental, nutritional, and chemical stresses have changed the sensitivity of the patient has increased, while the strength of their immune system has declined. That's pretty much the problem in a nutshell. Now, I want to say parenthetically that if you'd like to have the notes from this presentation, you can get them through our customer service. Nakash, you can just write to customer service, and I think he'll send those out to you. There's a link here with an interview with Dr. Levy here, so that you can do some more research. There's a lot to be learned here, and I would recommend that interview to you. Okay, so let's jump in, and I want to go to some definitions. And the first one we're going to look at is homotoxicology. What exactly are we talking about? Remember, one of our titles that we're going to look at today is actually a repertory of homotoxicology. So we want to see what that is. And then we're just going to take a look at some of the concepts around drainage, organotherapy, phytotherapy, gemotherapy. And I should have perhaps mentioned this at the beginning, but I am coming at this presentation and at this information as what we call here in North America, a classical homeopath. So my training is in homeopathy. I'm not, as some of you may be, a medical doctor or even a naturopathic physician. I have my training in homeopathy, and of course, we're all looking for ways in which we can better support our patients in their healing journeys. And so for me, I really needed to do the research to understand a bit better what we're talking about here, because again, I didn't go to naturopathy school, as some of you may have. Okay, So we're going to look at some terms and definitions, information that I've uncovered in this process, and then we'll get down and take a look at the actual resources, the books and such. Okay? So, homotoxicology, and I've taken these quotes from various bits of information, much of it actually from the resources themselves. So we're going to look at some definitions here. Illness being, according to homotoxicology, that is, illness is caused by the body's reaction to the presence of disruptive homotoxins. While what we recognize as the clinical symptoms of illness is what surfaces after the defense system has reacted to the threat. This means that illness is not the presence of symptoms as such, since these should only be seen as proof of ongoing defense activity. As long as clinical symptoms are only viewed as a threat to the quality of life of the patient, and the entire treatment is geared to the removal of these symptoms, the results will be superficial, and we are actually mortgaging the patient's long-term health. I think another term for what we're talking about in this last paragraph might be suppressive treatments, right? So we get a skin eruption, which is eliminative, and we want to slap some cortisone cream on here, probably the most common example that many of us run into. Okay? Let's just dig down a little deeper and to look at what are homotoxins, which are set into two distinct categories. The exogenous homotoxins being those that are externally introduced. And of course, this is part of the reason why this is such a huge topic of discussion right now, because of the environmental exposures. Tobacco, alcohol, drugs, we have foods, aromatics, colorants in foods. We've got all of those additives. And then, of course, we have heavy metal contamination, cadmium, glues, gases, radiations, who knows what's being sprayed. So there are the exogenous or externally introduced homotoxins. I would add as well dental interventions and medical interventions in that category. And then we have what are called in this world that we're looking at endogenous homotoxins, which are those toxins that are actually created in the body, in the bodily processes. So, for example, waste products of metabolic processes, hormonal imbalances, and then what is described here as inhibited or absent mediator or intermediate substance secretion, for example, insulin, serotonin, and such. So there are missing or absent hormones or organic substances produced by the body that are not there. And that's, again, creating this toxicity in the organism. Okay. Homotoxicology, here's the word actually broken down into homo being human, or yes, human, toxic, and toxicology. So the study of human toxicology. I've linked an article here. This is a 60-page PDF, but it really gives you a lot of background information. So if this is a subject that you're interested in, I would encourage you to go ahead and take a look at some of this background literature, and you can kind of come up to speed with what your local naturopath is doing. Okay. And then, of course, we have this quotation from a historically significant and famous practitioner. And I'm going to stumble on his name, Dr. Reichenweg. His dream being, I would like one day to merge homeopathy with mainstream medicine. Well, I dare say we would all like to see that in some form or fashion. We would at least like to be on the par with mainstream medicine. And so, in terms of homotoxicology, Dr. Reichenweg very much saw this branch of our medical system as being a way to move in the direction of integrating homeopathy with mainstream medicine. So let's see about that. Yeah. All right. So further definitions. Drainage. What are we talking about here? Actually, drainage Now, here's a new word, or maybe it's not a new word to you, but the emunctories. The body's cleaning and fortifying abilities are naturally maintained by the wheel of emunctories. The emunctories are organs of elimination responsible for getting rid of waste. There are 6 primary emunctories. These include liver, kidneys, large intestine, lungs, skin, and vagina. Okay? If the primary routes of elimination are functioning properly, our bodies are fully capable of detoxifying themselves normally. Well, I don't know how many of us fall in that category. Yet, if they are bogged down with toxicity or aren't functioning well, then even our normal cellular waste products can lead to free radical damage, cellular disintegration or denigration, and symptoms of disease if not properly excreted. Okay, so this is the field that we're working with. More on drainage. And this is a quotation, or this is information taken directly from Michael Bucco-Levy's actually excellent drainage repertory that we're going to look at. And he talks, now you can go into much, much depth by studying that book. 2 courses of emunctories treat and eliminate the stream of toxins along the wheel of elimination. The first course goes from skin to the digestive system and then to the respiratory. Well, we do know, I was a bit surprised by the digestive system. This is something that probably bears further study because we know there's a direct connection between the skin and the respiratory system, right? So we suppress on the skin, it goes to the respiratory system. Now, the second course evolves from the urinary system, then the osteoarticular system, and finally the cardiovascular. So as we suppress at one level or another, things tend to go deeper. Okay. And that's something that we just know from basic homeopathic principles. Now, continuing with our theme of definitions here, phytotherapy. What we're talking about, and that's where by the way, the herbal repertory is going to come in. We're talking about plant extracts. In the case of phytotherapy, we're talking about plant extracts and mother tinctures. So those would be basically your tinctures, right? There's also a branch called gemotherapy, and these are bud extracts in the first decimal or 1x potency. I've also heard these called plant stem cells. So those are also used in this kind of drainage and detoxification work. And finally, we have organotherapeutic remedies, which are healthy organ extracts or organ secretions prepared according to the general rules of homeopathic remedies. Those are generally used in lower potencies as well. Now, Bucco-Levy sums up a couple of important points here, that these kinds of medicines that we're talking about here, the phytomedicines, the organotherapeutics, are usually used for a prolonged course of treatment, usually a minimum of 2 months each. And he further adds, it's important to alternate the different plants according to the rhythm of seasons. Vascular plants should be given in the summer and rheumatic plants in the winter. Liver detoxifying plants in the spring and kidney detox plants in the fall. Okay, well, we're going to look at lots of information about how we can get information to be more specific in our prescribing when it comes to the seasons of the plants and so on. Okay, so in conclusion, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at plant medicines acting on organs for the removal of toxins. That's really the bottom line. As simple as I could make it for my own self. And if we want to look to historical references, Dr. Vanier, I believe you pronounce his name, who's a French homeopath, described exactly the same thing. As regards homeopathic phytotherapy, plant therapy, if you will, it's necessary to say here simply that's the question of elective action on the tissue or organ which is ill, whose perturbed function checks the elimination of noxious substances produced or introduced in the organism. Okay, so we're not talking about something new here. This wasn't invented in 2010 or 2016. And I think it's important for us to recognize that we are standing on the shoulders of a long tradition, actually bringing us together, at least in this country, with eclectic medicine and herbalism. So it's kind of, we're meeting the two together. Okay, so these are the resources that we're going to look at. But before I proceed, I'm curious if anyone has a question or a comment of any kind here. Feel free to speak up. Michal. Okay, Michelle, thank you. Yeah. Well, I don't know why I found Michael somewhere. So I appreciate the correction. Or is it Michelle? Just like your name. Oh dear. I'm so bad with anything other than Spanish or English. I apologize. Okay. Seeing no further questions or comments, let's jump in, and I'll correct these slides before I send them out. Here we go. So back to that homeopathic drainage repertory. In the past 100 years, environmental, nutritional, and chemical stresses have changed the sensitivity of the patient has increased while the strength of their immune system has declined. I think that's the same quote we already saw. Now, here is a bit of table of contents from this particular book. Now, let's go to the Radar Opus software and have a peek at how we can use this particular resource. Okay, so there's my Radar Opus. And what I want you to see, and I'm just going to very quickly buzz through some things here. In the upper left-hand corner here of my desktop, I have the button here that opens the table of contents for repertories, which you see listed here. And then I have the one for references, which include Materia Medica of a number of different categories. Now, I have got what are tagged as some favorites here at the top of my list. If you do not know how to do favorites, I'm going to show you really, really quickly. If I wanted to take Alan's primer of Materia Medica and turn it into a favorite so that it sits at the top of my list, I'm just going to right click here. And on the menu that comes up here, it says add this title to my favorites. And when I do that, you'll notice that Alan's Materia Medica or primer, I'm not sure which one it was, actually just popped up to the top of the list. Now, if I want to display my favorites, because some of you may find that even when you designate a favorite, it's not showing up. You're going to need to open up this little settings window just by using the gear box there. And here's a box here that says display favorites at the top of the list. So I'm just going to display my favorites, and there we go. Now, I had designated this repertory as a favorite. You see it starred here, but I can't see it. Why? Because the way they have organized these references is by category. And so that category is a little ways down. So the best way to find a book that you're looking for here, if you don't have it in your favorites at the top, is just to begin typing a few letters of the author's name. In this case, Buko-Levi, and there we go. So now when I click on the name of the book, it's going to open up over here. But what I want you to see is here, we can use these triangles, and I'm going to use this triangle here to open up the contents for the book. Now I've opened up the rest of the contents here so you can kind of get a look at what's available in this book. The first thing you're going to notice is you're going to go, wait a minute, it says homeopathic and drainage repertory, but it's not in the repertory format. So you're going to find this book if you have, I believe it's library 7 and above. Anyway, if you have a library and you have it available, the way you're going to find it is clicking over here in references, and then we're going to click on the top of the book here so that we can open it up in the display. Now, how do we use this book like a repertory if it's not in repertory format? First of all, make note, there's a lot of information. If you want to research the topic, I highly recommend this book. Okay. And as you see, once I open up these triangles, this whole section on 4 constitutions and 4 reactive modes, you can really, really get excellent information. But let's scan down. So I'm all the way down here on how to use this book. You'll notice each time I click on a section, that section of the book is going to open up. But what we really want to see here, just going to scoot down. I'm just scrolling down just a little bit so that I can get to the homeopathic and drainage repertory section. All right. And the first entry, this we might consider to be a chapter if it were arranged and indexed in the repertory manner that the rest of our repertories are. We might expect to see a chapter called abdominal pain, but the best we can do is just click on abdominal pain here. And we'll notice that there's a description of the pathology, and so on. Let's go to another entry. Let's go to recurrent boils, for example. Okay, recurrent boils, blah, blah, blah. Background treatment. Now he's going to give us some treatment here. Now notice, once I click over into the display area here, and the little hand is pointing, I like to, rather than scroll using this scroll tool on the right, I'll just use the up and down arrows. And I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to start reading this section. Now, what if I said to myself, okay, I want to treat boils. I want to find some information from this particular drainage remedy. How am I going to go about finding that if I can't find it in the repertory? Okay, I have a slide for you here. Go back to the book. Okay, those are all your chapters. Search using words in advanced search mode. Okay, so what do I mean? Let's go back and take a look here. I've got a case in front of me where I've got an abscess, or I've got recurrent boils even. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my advanced search. And for those of you who have not been with me, that's really the only search I like to be bothered with. So we'll go to this big button here at the top in the very center, and we are going to click on that little arrow on the right-hand side, and we're going to select advanced search. I use the shortcut function F5. Okay, so we're going to go for the advanced search. And in the advanced search window, let me close that contents for now, just lower left-hand corner, that closes out. Boils. It's very simple. I want to search for the word boils, right? And where do I want to search for the word boils? I want to search for it in, you see what I'm going to do? I'm going to designate here all open references. Remember, because that's a reference. That book is a reference. And as soon as I do that, the results of my search come up immediately. And here is the homeopathic and drainage repertory listed with 15 occasions or occurrences of the word boils. Okay, the search is broken down line by line, just as though we had searched for, let's say, let's just do another, let's expand the search a bit and let's look at open repertories. Oh, I don't have any repertories. Oh, that's not going to work, is it? I'll go back to my open references for now. Let me just open Boricky, for example, really quickly, and then we can go back to that search. Let's try it again. Okay, and now what I'll just say is I'll say all open documents. So it's going to look at both repertories and it's also going to look at references. So I do have, in Boricky's repertory, for example, here, I've got 7 rubrics or symptoms that have to do with boils. But if I'm trying to use that any of the drainage repertories, again, this one happens to be a repertory in the references section. I'm going to click on that link, and here I've got all of my references to boils. And remember, if you just double click on any of these, it's going to take you straight into the book itself. So I'm right now where I want to be. I'm in the homeopathic and drainage repertory. And here I have a discussion. In fact, I'm right here as you see, I'm just scrolling back up because I want to see where I am. I'm in the second stage, pus collection. Okay, that's the boil I've got. And here's the usual treatment. And he's going to give me what one might consider to be a protocol. Okay, so to utilize this particular repertory, and it's just this one, to utilize this effectively, we've got to do the search for words. Now, why do I say that? Because, and I'll just show you in real time here. If I go back to my advanced search and I want to search for a particular medicine, let's say Heparr sulf, for example, which I know I should find in boils, yeah? H-E, so I'm going to go to now the Remedies search field, H-E-P. There's Heparr sulf, so I'll put the period. That's the standard abbreviation, and when I hit enter and search in open documents, you see I don't get any of those references. Why? Because they're not indexed by remedy. Okay, but again, if I put in boil, I'm going to get those documents. I'm actually going to get one of the other books that I had open. This is one of our bonus texts that we're going to look at later this evening. Okay, so I can do this as well. If I want to look up Heparr in that particular book, it wasn't indexed as a remedy, but it certainly should be here. So if I simply type the word H-E-P-A-R and search it as a word, there it is. And here I have many references to the action of Heparr sulf. I could also say Heparr action. So I'm going to search those two words together. Oh, that really narrowed things down, didn't it? Okay. So you see what I'm getting at here? This advanced search tool is really, this is where we want to go. In other words, even if I wanted to search, say I want to look at the recommendations for calendula in that particular book, instead of using it over here on remedies, I'll put it here, C-A-L-E-N-D-U-L-A. I've got to, whoops, I got to spell everything out here correctly because the program in this instance, calendula, why did you not find me? That's funny because oh, there it is. It's only in that one book. Yeah, I was going to say, I know I did that earlier, and there it was. Okay, so this is a really useful work. If you have it and you didn't know it was there, I suggest you take a look. If you don't have it, you may want to take a look at adding to your reference library, and that way you can add that text. It's really, really remarkable, and I'm kind of excited to get in there and utilize that a little bit more. Okay, so are there any questions about what I just went over? I know it was a little could be confusing if you're not used to using the advanced search. Okay. Alrighty then. We are going to go on to, the big featured attraction here, which is the Earthwise Herbal Repertory and Materia Medica. This is Matthew Wood's book, and I would like to say a modern classic of herbal medicine. However, this is a new edition that was specifically created for the Radar Opus software. And in the advertising and promotions for the book, they say homeopaths can enhance our knowledge of plant remedies and organotherapy by embracing the empirical knowledge and decades of clinical experience of Matthew Wood. It's really true. He's the guy. And when you spend some time in this book, I think you're going to understand why this is such an important addition to our Materia Medica, not just because sometimes we need some herbs or sometimes we want to, explore drainage and things like that, but rather to have another important resource for our medicines, particularly our plant medicines. And I think you'll see why going forward. What's included? Clinically verified mother tincture and low potency plant remedy guide. That's right. And if you're an herbalist, the beauty of this is this is actually indexed as a repertory. It's actually 2 volumes. So we have a repertory and a Materia Medica or a reference. But you can use the symptoms in this book in your case analysis. And then, of course, they also point out matched tissue states to the organs for exact organ prescribing. So it's really a comprehensive work. And without further ado, let's go into Radar Opus. And for those of you who may not be familiar with this maps function in your software, I'm just going to show you this for fun. Maps comprises, there are many, many different graphical interfaces here. And again, there's always a little arrow on the right of these windows. So I'm going to click that arrow so that I can get a selection of maps that are available. And I want this last one here called Matthew Wood or Wood Matthew Earthwise Plant, Materia Medica, and Repertory. Okay, there's that promo screen, just basically giving us more info about the product itself. But what you can do here, see down here at the bottom, it says open Repertory and Materia Medica in one click. So if I double click this, it actually opens up the books for me. Okay, and it's opened up. How do I know where I am? Because if I look in the upper left-hand corner, here's the tab. It's got the references book. It says Earthwise Plant Medicine Materia Medica. So volumes 1 and 2 combined. This is the brand new edition that was made for and in cooperation with Radar Opus. If I want to see the repertory section, I can click my repertories selector, opening my repertory window or my repertory table of contents, I should say. And here's the actual repertory version right here. Okay. Opening up the contents, I've got 4 different sections, 4 different chapters within that book. Okay. So I've actually got for the Matthew Wood Herbal Earthwise Guide, Earthwise Plant Medicine Materia Medica, I've got both a reference. Let's put in Earthwise. There it is. I've actually got a Materia Medica, and I've also got a repertory. Okay. Now, let me see what I've prepared and make sure I've not missed any important details before we just jump in here on this slide. This is, I think, worth noting. The Earthwise Herbal is organized around the concept that each plant has an innate intelligence or core essence, as the ancients would have said, binding together the disparate properties and uses into a meaningful and logical or intuitive whole. The compounds in the plant, its appearance, growth habit, ecological niche, and medicinal properties are united by this common personality, intelligence, or essence. This approach is thus set upon a holistic foundation. I think this is an important point of view and for us as homeopaths. As I read this statement from Matthew Wood, it begins to sound a bit like we're actually describing our patients or the disturbed vital force or a homeopathic medicine, if you will. So his approach is very, very close to what we're already used to. And not all herbalists are created equal in that sense. The entity or personality of a disease is not identical to the disease organism, because the latter manifests different expressions of disease in different people. In other words, individualized expression of disease. He goes on, in holistic medicine, we attempt to comprehend the whole expression or constitution of the sickness in the individual. Sounds good, huh? Only when our understanding encompasses the whole are we in a position to eliminate the disturbance radically through lifestyle changes, diet, and medication. Okay, and these must be suited to the individual. So once again, there's a great consistency here in the approach that this particular book takes and our homeopathic principles, right? We're talking about individualization and we're talking about totality of disease. Okay, the plants discussed are mostly those found in traditional literature or recently adopted into modern herbal practice. So he's got a fusion of the old and new. And I think this is also really important. And there are a couple different approaches that we're talking about in this presentation today. In ancient times, single herbs were known as simples, in contrast to combinations or compounds. This herbal follows the approach of the simplers, not only in their use of individual herbs, but in their methods for determining the properties of herbs, one of which was doctrine of signatures, by the way, which, much maligned in homeopathy, but there it is. So what sets the approach of this author apart from some of the homotoxicologists, as you will see, is in the use of single medications or single remedies as opposed to combinations. We get to choose, and we may combine approaches as well, but I think it's worth note that that is his approach. Okay? So let's take a look at, and again, I highly, highly recommend, you spend a couple days or an evening reading through the front matter, if you will, in this important, if you're going to make the investment in the book, and it is on sale right now, if you're read through the front matter, and I think you're going to learn some things. Okay. So here I've shown you some of the chapters, and let's just go ahead and go back to the Radar Opus and our references, and let's actually look at some of this. Okay. So I've already actually opened up the table of contents here. There's a lot of really important history and really important perspective here that applies very directly to what we are doing as homeopaths. Specific medicine, this section I found to be really fascinating. And I would encourage you to take a look. He also discusses some of our other well-known teachers, and including Fatak, Boger, and actually I'm going to go ahead and we'll look at those in just a minute. Anyway, look, preparation and dosage. So he's really going to go into in depth how one might consider preparing their herbal preparations. I mean, it's a very, very detailed book. Okay. So if you're no scientific standards for posology or dosage exist. Okay. Makes it a little open-ended, doesn't it? Anyway, that's the book. I encourage you to look at that. Now, what about the Materia Medica? This is probably the juiciest part of this whole thing, right? Is not only, and we'll look at the repertory in just a minute, not only do we have a Materia repertory, but we also have Materia Medica. And I chose a sample. What did I choose here out of Materia Medica? Aeschylus. Okay, let's look. Here's a remedy we're familiar with. Here it is in Matthew Wood's Materia Medica, if you will. And you'll notice that he's actually got this broken down into subsections, if you will. Now, let's just focus our attention here on the Materia Medica section of the book. I'm going to close this table of contents for just a moment. And what I want to remind you of is we have a navigation tool always available. So once I'm in the book, whether it's a repertory or a Materia Medica, if I just click this binoculars, I can immediately open up the navigation window, and I don't need to use my mouse or trackpad anymore. I'm just going to go Materia Medica. Okay, I start typing, enter, And now, if I have a medicine in mind that I want to take a look at, let's just say it's chamomilla in this case, CHAM. As soon as I type chamomilla and hit enter, I can go to any of the subsections. I would simply hit enter or return one more time, and I'll dump straight into that section of the Materia Medica in this particular book. So this functions just like any other Materia Medica. And I'll tell you, the information is very, very useful and very consistent with what we are accustomed to seeing in a useful Materia Medica um, for a plant remedy, okay, or any remedy for that matter. But again, you're just going to find plants in this particular reference. Even in the muscular and skeletal system, you'll see that there are indications. Okay, so you're going to want to, I actually have this thing as a favorite now in my sections because when I'm searching favorites, I want to see what the Earthwise plant medicine book has to say about any remedy that I might be considering. Okay, so that's the function of our Materia Medica there. Now remember, when I'm in my search, let's just go to the advanced search again for just a moment. And if I'm just going to go back to that section of that curious case of boils, shall we say. Um, Actually, I'm kind of curious about arnica. Well, if I just want to search in all open references, oh dear, he's got 146 references for boils. Okay. I probably want to use the Materia Medica, or I'm sorry, the Repertory, don't I? So if I search all repertories, there's my wood down here at the bottom. There's the Repertory, and now I'm directly into the Repertory of the Repertory version, shall we say, of the Earthwise Herbal Repertory. So let's take a look at that. We saw Aesculus as an example. We actually looked at the example of chamomilla, but you see that there are those subsections. And then there's going to be a preparation and dosage section as well. And in the case of Aesculus, I thought so interesting is that he gives us references not just for additional materia medica, not just in herbal literature, but he also refers back to our own homeopathic materia medica. Okay, so it's a very nice fusion of herbalism and our what we're accustomed to doing in homeopathic materia medica. Okay, I'm going to skip that slide for now. Let's go on to just take a look at the various sections that are available in this repertory. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the repertory. I'm going to go to Wood's repertory, and a quick way for me to see what's actually here is to, up in the upper right here, if I turn off, you see there's a button here that will turn off the display of remedies. Okay, good. I can now see more clearly what my symptoms are, or my rubrics, if you will. But let's go a little back a step, and remember these binoculars will always open up my navigation window. And so what I'm actually looking at here are the 3 constitutions from the Ayurvedic standpoint. I also have 6 tissue states that I can investigate. So if I know I have a patient that I want to consider with this particular tissue state, you notice I just turned the remedy display back on now that I got where I wanted to go. This is a useful section, constitutions and tissue states. But let's go back and look at the other ones. Here's the organ section. Okay, organs and systems. There they are. And again, I'll just turn off the remedies so you can go ahead and see. We have a mind section. Female organs, gallbladder, gonads, blah, blah, blah. It's all here. Okay. Let's just go kidney, for example. So I'm in organs and I'm just going to use my hands to type since I'm in the navigation window. KID, kidney, kidney pain, kidney condition. And so we have various kidney conditions. Okay. And once I get where I want to go, I'll go ahead and turn my remedy display back on. Okay. So this is a useful addition to your repertorization when you have specific organ dysfunction, let's call it, that you would like to include in your repertorization. If you want to take a look at any of these medicines, certainly this is the way to go. And of course, you all know that, and I find this quite a bit in this particular book, is that I'll see a remedy here that I'm not familiar with. I'm like, oh, like what's this one? Well, okay, it's a cucumber, it's a cucurbita, we know that. But you remember, if you double click on these, you will open up the remedy information window. And of course, with Franz Muellen's passport, we're going to get some information. Of course, we can look at what plant family that remedy is. Of course, it's in the Violales there, along with Bryonia and some of our other important polycrests, actually. There's nothing in the quiff references, but I can always search for this remedy in all documents. Fingers crossed. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So starting from the repertory, I was curious about water retention. I was over here in edema and water retention. Saw a remedy I didn't know, and I very quickly can pop through. And if I want to now, well, the extraction, it's really only here in 2 rubrics in that particular book. Okay. But I might be interested to know that, well, Boric is showing it for the same thing, right? Did I do a search in all documents? I did. Okay. So you get the idea there. The utility of this repertory, I don't know that we can really overstate when it comes to the organ-specific remedies that we may want to use for support in our chronic treatment. And again, this is in no way trying to tell you how to prescribe. So let's look at the final couple of sections here. We have a whole thing on chronic conditions. Okay. So the chronic conditions are here and well outlined. And let's just look at cancer really quickly. Okay. So here are his main cancer remedies, and then we have some very specifics, right? Let's take a look at acute conditions. There's a good amount of information for the main COVID remedies. Again, these are plant remedies, but we've got remedies recommended for long COVID and so on and so forth. So that is our Matthew Woods, Earthwise, Repertory, and Materia Medica. Aha. And so here is some information that took me sideways. From this book, Fatax Materia Medica, which I consider to be a cornerstone. According to these authors, Fatac was an upgrade of Boger's amazing synoptic key, where the locations and organ affinities were spelled out with greater clarity than anywhere before or since in homeopathic literature. Wow. Okay. Clinically verified symptoms and remedies, and which were reduced to a line or two of undifferentiated text in Fatac. Well, they don't want to diss Fatac, but both Fatac and Boger's Materia Medica and Repertory are discussed in that book as excellent examples of non-Kentian prescribing. Now, when I saw this, I said, wait a minute, bonus, let's look at Boger's Synoptic Key. Okay. So I went in here. Now, in fact, I always had that as a favorite of mine. Anyway, but here we go. Let's look at Boger's Synoptic Key. We can look at the chapters this way if we like, but we can also just go to the, no, actually I do want to look at the chapters because you know what I discovered here is, again, if I've got a particular organ or organ system that I'm looking for example, just mouth and throat. Okay. Mouth and throat in general. It's always right at the top in Boger's Synoptic Key. Here are the general, what he might consider the main organ remedies. Same thing with ears. In general, it's right at the very top of the chapter in each and every case. Okay. Head remedies in general. So this is useful. Okay. So there you have Boger's Synoptic Key. Who knew that at this late date we might be dragging that out because we're trying to get back to supporting the organs and organs of elimination in particular. Okay. So there's that. And now we're going to move on. Are there any questions before I move on from Matthew Wood? Okay. Feel free to jump in. And if not, yeah, I might actually run just a bit over an hour. Talking more than we thought. Okay, so our next work that we're going to take a look at is this Repertory of Homeopathy and Homotoxicology. That's that concept that we introduced at the beginning. The author for this particular book is an Italian, Bianchi, as far as I can tell. Born in Verona, graduated in medicine and surgery at Padova University in 1973. Hopefully someone will correct my. Can you please discuss how you might get that view of Matthew Wood's and Boger's book? Oh, okay, Michelle. Yes, I'm going to try and do that right now before I move on to another one. Let me go back here. I'm in my radar opus. Let me close everything down and just start over because I probably did a couple things that you may not have followed too well. First of all, I have designated, I'm in my repertories display. This is the table of contents for repertories. I have designated Matthew Wood's repertory, the Earthwise Herbal Repertory, as a favorite. Okay, so it appears up here toward the top of the list. And when I click this little triangle next to it, it opens up a display of the chapters. Now, I did a little something sneaky. There is a settings. Again, we've looked at the settings once at the top of this window. If I click that little settings thing, you remember where I asked it to display favorites here? Yeah. I also can ask it to see where it says chapters in a list. I can also say in a grid as icons. So when I put in a grid as icons here for my chapter display, watch what happens. Now I get those funny icons. And those are nice. I can still use those to go where I want to go, but it doesn't have the name. So I figured out how to just get them as a list, which I think is kind of better, maybe, for our purposes. So once I get here, now there are no further triangles, so I can't open these any further from the contents. I would have to go to the main display area here, at which point I can use my binoculars to open the navigation window, and then I can choose, let's say, acute conditions, COVID and vaccinosis. And you see, I'm just clicking to open those up. I'm actually using my mouse or my trackpad now. If I want to return to where I was, I'll just use I'm using the delete or the backspace key to take myself backward. I want to look at the fever section. Look, there's a section on Lyme disease in here. Look at that. Sorry, I got distracted. I get so excited when I see these things. I just want to go have a look, right? Okay. So hopefully that encapsulates what you were asking for there. Let's close this up because I want to show you what happens with Boger. So when I open up Boger, remember I asked them to display everything as lines instead of icons. I could get those icons, but again, I've decided I'm not a fan of the icons. I kind of like this approach. And again, I don't have subsections here. These are all already opened up. Let's move from the repertories area or contents then. Let's go to the references. if I'm not sure where that book is and I don't want to scroll all the way around, I can always just start typing a few letters of the last name of the author, Wood. Oh, and it immediately went right there, didn't it? There's my Matthew Wood. Now, in this instance, when I open up the contents of that book, what Wood, Essentials of Homeopathy, what remedies to fill our case? Huh. Oh, that's not even the right book. Oh, for goodness sake, Marci. This is what I want. Like, wait a minute. There we go. Earthwise plant medicine. Open it up. And now you'll see that there are subsections here with additional arrows that I can open up. So again, once I sort of get in the ballpark, then I can go over here to my main display window, use the binoculars, and have a look here. Materia Medica. Boom. I'm right there. Okay. So I hope that answered your question. Yeah, it's just getting comfortable finding one's way around here in the various books using the interface. Okay. Let's see, what did you say there? Yes, okay, good. Oh, we don't want to look at that right now. Okay. So let's dash through, because wow, it looks like I'm tracking to go all the way to my extra 15 minutes. Bianchi's Repertory of Homeopathy and Homotoxicology. He divides the repertory into chapters of physiological importance that follow a system elected by Bianchi, related to his view on homotoxicology. Now, yeah, it allows a busy homeopath to search for pathological conditions and find remedy suggestions within the focused clinical rubrics. It's a clinical repertory. Let's have a look. Okay. I actually like this one. I have it. Normally it's in my favorite. Wait, where did it go? Where's Bianchi? Oh, wrong contents. There we go. It's a repertory. Here it is. First of all, let's try looking at, there are the chapters, but let's just go ahead and open it up. Okay. Actually, here's what I want to do. Eyes and vision. Remember we looked at, I'm going to go back over here to eyes and vision. Eyes and vision. And he's got specific pathologies mentioned here. Okay. Just through and through. So if I want to look at this in a different way and I want to open up my navigation window, eyes and vision. Here they are. Cataract. Enter. There's cataract. Now, what you're going to notice in this repertory is a very different approach. Okay. You're going to see a lot of remedies in here, or that you may or may not know what they are. Okay. So I'm going to show you how you can find out what's going on here and how you can make use of this if you're not prescribing combos, or if you are prescribing combos, how you might work with those. So actually, I notice over here, I'm going to look on the right-hand side here, and I notice that under damages of the retina, I've got a medicine here that says Trom HI plus. Okay, now you remember what I did? If I want remedy information, I'm going to double click on the name of the remedy. It's going to open up my remedy information window. And again, if you have Franz Vermeulen passport, he's going to give you the information. It's an arnica composite from Heal. Okay, it's also called Trameal. If you don't have this, look what you can do. First of all, you can go like this. If you don't recognize the remedy, you're going to open it up in the remedy information window and you're going to say search in all documents, because you might find something. Well, we came up empty, didn't we? But that's okay. I'm going to go back to up here on the right to the remedy information window, the one with the little pills. And I'm going to actually choose this icon that says search for this remedy on Google. Watch. It does the search right in the software. Now, really not telling me very much, is it? I already know it's Trameal. But you know what? If I now watch, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type, I can actually modify that Google search by going Traumeal ingredients. Yeah, because what do I really want to know? I'm a homeopath. Don't tell me it's Traumeal. I want to see what's in there. And look, it's right there. Okay. So we started in Bianchi's Repertory. We saw something we didn't know what it was, some kind of a combo. Let's do this one, Apis HC. Oh, I have an idea. It says Apis homochord. Okay, we're going to double click. We get the remedy information window, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to go straight to Google. And I'm going to say, looks like that product is made by Heal, isn't it? Ingredients. Voila. Okay. It is not rocket science. So if you find something in Bianchi's Repertory that you find is interesting and you want to have a little look, or if you want to purchase the remedy, the medicine to use with your patient, you can also find the potencies are all here. Yeah, it's a homochord. Isn't that interesting? So they have a whole combo of X potencies in here. Who knew? Huh? Okay, so that's the Bianchi's Repertory. I find it very useful. And one of the things I just want to mention here, let's go to the advanced search. Now, if you get stuck in the simple, just look over here to the right and choose the bejeweled magnifying glass. You see, if I choose the simple magnifying glass, I only have one option to search. But if I choose the jeweled one here, I get my word search field as well as my remedy search field. Up here, if you have, I'll just put the word I just for kicks. But if I want to search in various locations, one of the beauties of having your favorites set is you can specify just to search in your favorites. All right. Save you a lot of time. Okay. So it's 5:03. I'm going to wrap up. Let's go back to our topic here. So you've seen Bianchi's Repertory, right? Very useful. A lot of combos there. You will find some Guna medicines in there. You will find some Heal manufactured medicines. And there are also these Reichenweg combination medicines that you may find as you begin to dive into this homotoxicology and drainage adventure. Okay. Here's another bonus. While I was in the process of all of this, I happened upon a work by an Indian gentleman, Ram Sire, who has done a beautiful job with Rademacher's universal and organ remedies. Okay, so let's just grab that really quickly. It's in references and it's R-A-D. It's under other therapies. So in my references, they've got lots of things grouped under other therapies, and this is one of them. Other therapies include, actually the Matthew Wood is also in that section, but look what we have here. Introduction to organ remedies. This is like old information. It's absolutely spectacular. So abdominal remedies acting upon liver and spleen. Okay, I didn't even have time to get into this, but I'm like really excited to go in and begin reading some of this information. The thing I want to remind you about is because we are in references, okay, I've made that a favorite. You see, it's got a star. But because we're in references again, if we want to search for a particular medicine in there, we're going to have to do it here. So let's just say, I'm going to search for the word taraxacum because I'm suspecting it might be there. And I'm going to search in all open references. So it should come up. It doesn't. So he must not have taraxacum in there. I wonder if he's got the word spleen. Yeah, there it is. It's nicely indexed with spleen. So if you want to find actual remedy references, that I'm going to have to experiment around with. I just did not, literally came upon this at the nth hour there and got kind of excited. But I would invite you to take a look if you have that book in your collection. Now, I'm wrapping up. If you don't have some of these books in your collection, guess what? They're on sale. Some of them are on sale. Gosh, this is so small, I can't even read it. But how do we find this information? Let's go to um, radaropus.us. Okay, let's go to the main page here, radaropus.us. I guess I gotta back up one more. Well, where's the home page? Come on now. There we go. So if you go to radaropus.us, then you're going to see this button, View Promotions. It's right there. Okay. Now, in addition to those promotions, let me just say that the other, like this one, and one other that we looked at as well, would require library upgrades if you don't have those books. So, that's some information that you could get from customer support. While we're here, I will point out to you that we have these free on-demand videos. And I have some just basic training on Radar Opus. So you could go look at those. And if you put my name in on the little search thing, it's taking its sweet time, isn't it? But if you put Marci here, you will get those. Getting started in Radar Opus, and that'll just walk you through everything you need to know to sort of do what I did. Or here we go. I have my website now, and I've been putting my training videos up there, marcimearns.com. So if you want to go have a look there, this recording of today and some of the other sessions that I've done will be there, as well as those step-by-step training videos. And of course, there's radaropus.us. We'd love to have you visit us anytime. And that concludes this evening's presentation. I do hope you'll join me next time. I'm really excited to dig into this next set of books. These are works that I use quite often and have been for a number of years, and hope that you'll get excited about them, just as I got excited about some of the new information today. So, questions before we wrap up and head out? Oh, Deborah, how nice to have you here. Oh, wow. Yeah, great to have you. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you'll join me again in a month. Really, really thank you for your time and for all the good work that you're doing out in the world. Let us know your comments. Let us know how you like these presentations, if they're topics you'd like to have covered. They're always asking me to do these, and I'm having to dig up my own topics. So if you have a suggestion, again, feel free to visit me online and let me know what you think. Okay? Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you,
coming.
Marci.
Yeah, it was great to have everybody here tonight. And again, thanks for the opportunity. See you next time. Yes, there will be a replay. The video will be available. I'll tell you what, you can go to you're going to be able to go to my website, which is this one, and where I have resources. Fall 2024 series is right here. So I've got the one I did last time. These are still on sale, by the way. This thing on theme repertories, that was a pretty good presentation, if I do say so myself. And some of those books are still on sale. So, I try and make this practical. I'm not going to show you something that I don't find helpful. But yes, there will be a replay. And as I said, you can get the handouts and all that good stuff if you want the links. Okay? All right. Stopping share. Great to have everyone here. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Okay. Bye.